Cardio, everyone! Velocity here, back in action for more Investigation Attraction. That's right, it's the second time that we investigate. Investigation Day 2. As we continue on a miraculous adventure of proving a scientist was swindled into taking grant money. The 23rd of October, 2:41 p.m. Naruhodo's legal consultee. Oh, this room. It's been too long. Hasn't changed in the slightest, though. It's been, some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you left it. But it has been some 6 months. It's true. So is your father alright, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, and that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he's fallen ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason. That's right! So I was surprised to learn you'd be coming back so soon. Surprised but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you. That it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. Because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic St. Cinnamon, Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh! You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing. You wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About, you know who? About Kazuma? I know. I'll tell you all that I can. Alright, cool. First thing first, we have to look. Thinking back, that spade's been in here since we first moved in, hasn't it? I'm sure I've told you this before, Mr. Naruto. It's not a spade, it's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel. The great spade shovel war rages on. See here. You have water gently boiling on the stove, I see. It feels wrong somehow if I can't hear the water bubbling away. We have plenty of logs. It's not like we have to worry about paying for gas. It's important to open the window for fresh air when the fire's burning, though. You can't keep it closed just because it's cold outside. It could be a matter of life and death. But in the freezing winter air is a matter of life and death, too, if you ask me. Oh, well, perhaps a nice cup of tea will warm you up later. True that. You see, I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers as always. You really must tidy it all up, Mr. Naruto. No more excuses. But Mr. Susato, the way I see it, all these papers building up on my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are so I can never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences. In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed. Can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm a lawyer here. Well, yeah, because she's a better lawyer than you, brah. Clearly, this would be a game about her if, like, women were allowed to be lawyers properly. So, I have no doubts about that. That being said, though, I would love to have like we need an Ace Attorney featuring mostly a woman as the main character. I'm gonna be real. Well, I do like all the pro-tags so far, especially Naruto though, but it's still a situation where it's just like, man, it would be nice, right? Let's see here. I think we have everything. Cool. Oh, I'm so looking forward to making some tea again, Mr. Naruto. Which you think I wouldn't like, given that I'm not keen on bitter flavors. But it is Susato-san's tea, after all. It's amazing what a little cake and something on the side could do. I would dearly love to serve you some sort of Japanese sweet alongside your matcha green tea. But I suppose that's simply not possible given how long we've been staying here in London. Well, I do like the little chocolates you put in with my tea. They go wonderfully. Oh, Mr. Naruto, you would, wouldn't you? That gives me a warm glow inside for some reason. Aw, they're siblings, fam. They're siblings, 100%. I like how she's just on the side here. I didn't even notice. Nothing? Nothing. Left your desk completely untouched, Mrs. Sato. So it would be ready for you whenever you returned. It's beautifully clean. There isn't a speck of dust on it anywhere. You've been cleaning in my absence, Mr. Naruto. Whatever next? Well, I could allow my greatest assistant's desk to sit there gathering dust, could I? It really is exactly as it was when I left. So touched. But sadly, your desk is also exactly as it was too. Well, that's how it should be after all. Oh dear. I'd forgotten how that clean-cut smile can be so disarming. That's really cute. Is she the big sister type that's just like, I gotta let my little brother have this? Your room through there should be exactly as you left it. I've still never been inside. I've never been invited. Of course not. Only Iris is allowed in my room. No doubt I'll be hearing you two giggling away in there again, too. Yeah, apparently. It's a place to see all our sea creatures doing so well in the aquarium. Yes, the prawns are still swimming, and the anemones are still swaying. Obviously, I'd been looking after them carefully. At first, I used to drool whenever I looked at those juicy prawns. Not anymore. They're like part of the family now. I don't suppose they'll ever know how close they were to meeting their maker. They simply wouldn't be, right? Alright, Iris, what are you doing here? It must be about a year ago now. I read a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I call it the Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Shalom forbade you from publishing it. And put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it, apart from Hurley and I. For some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? Oh, it sounds so exciting! The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. You wouldn't tell me. How'd you come to know it? Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day. And I think it's time. Oh? I'm only sorry I have had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. The Hound of Bakersfields? Okay. It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study. I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label fixed to the box that was written in English. It read, "The Hound of the Baskervilles." What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and... Susato, what are you doing? Oh, Father. You look at those papers? No, I simply read the label, that's all. Well, they're all out of your mind. Sorry? Forget that you ever saw it. Certainly don't tell anybody else about this. You understand. But what was Arish's manuscript doing in Japan? I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Shlom's exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions. There was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it. Still, I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. Okay. Weird how that's like a one-time dialogue thingy, but hey, you know, it is what it is. We got everything here, so let's go quick. Presento. You're still taking care of that armband, I see. So pleased. Well, yes, it feels like it wouldn't be me without it now, to be honest. Oh dear, there seems to be a thread coming loose just there. Look. I'd be only too happy to mend it for you, Mr. Naruto. Oh, thank you. I must have scratched it again. Something again. I'm always doing that. Then take better care of it, please. It was all going so well until I ruined it. That's pretty cute. Alright. Oh, we have a whole bunch. Back in Britain, Forensic Science Symposium. One Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium, too. I think he said the investigation authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jingoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency. Judge Shiro Jingoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruto. Last year, in the Supreme Court. And possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours where you were accused of murder? Ah! Yes, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jingoku who presided over that trial. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited into the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him. In the end, he agreed to me going on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strong has put an awful lot of work to make it happen. Obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General. Most senior position in the British justice system? He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Does Professor Mikatopa know Lord Strongheart personally then? Wonder. Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen too much of it. How trying of you. Back in Britain, what about Kazuma? What about Kazuma? When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes, since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing! I wish I'd seen it, don't you, Bruno? Yes, I suppose so. I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. Something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Susato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikatoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with the convict's loot we found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? That's right, the very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when my father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. How would that be then? Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answer for myself. And I decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie! A very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris. Alright, what about Giselle Brett? Giselle Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. It's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, seems the name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. And it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. Didn't exist? But how could that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin, and she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss Asian. Oh my god. Come on, game. Even I know what that one was. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to assert about her. Nobody knows why, or even how, she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense! No easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could, that woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we could be sure of is that she had some business in her country that we don't understand yet. Now she's been killed. All the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. Hey Shin, what on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? I don't know, but what about Kazuma? After my friend Rin's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on and in the visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on the same ship, and that he'll never... Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later, I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama. What did he learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unlaid at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of a consulation staff there. Should have been? Well, it turns out his body never arrived. It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave at the cliffs by her hometown. Except Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikotoba know about this? Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. We're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. But what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Yeah. Mystery? Is he still alive? Is it possible that Kazuma is still alive? Because I think the only one that said that he was dead was Sherlock, right? Looking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Bruyat were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be? He's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruto. It's too much to bear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me. So very much. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruto. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Slomes was there, wasn't he? Ah! And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. Ah! You're right! So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it wouldn't mean that Mr. Slomes had lied to us. But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing. I suppose that's true, yes. The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it. Because if it turned out to not be true, I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me. Oh, Susato. She's given the idea the thought it deserves. Susato-san, we're talking about, after all. I probably shouldn't push it now. So I will say this much, when it comes to death, for those that have not experienced it yet, There are definitely lingering thoughts and feelings, especially when you don't actually see the death, that you think to yourself, what if it's a lie? And it's one of those things where you're in the bargaining stage and in the denial stage, and you think to yourself that this couldn't possibly be the case. And honestly, it really gets that way in the sense that your brain wants to trick itself into thinking that, like, it's just another day like any other day, and they'll come in through that door, and you'll hear their car or truck or whatever, hear their steps and whatnot, and you'll be familiar with what's happening, and they'll come in through the door, and they'll be able to be there and greet you and say hi. And that is, I think, a very lingering feeling for a lot of people that experience such harsh death, because it's so hard for the human mind to comprehend that someone could just be gone. And I kind of get what Susato is saying here, in the sense that, like, she's very clearly not having a good time. And I gotta be real, like, yeah, that's just kind of a thing. It sucked, dude. That's how it is. I just wanted to say that as well, 2 cents. So, Mr. Naruto, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well. So, you're fully abreast of the situation already, Mr. Sato? I expect nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Draper, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts, by the sound of it. Well known in his field of science and magic. Then we need to go and arrest him. Well, yes. We must know the truth behind this case. I agree, we really do need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police, or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you? That was a little abrupt. Pull of the herb market must be strong. Okay, fair enough. But what if we move? A new location. Well, we had to go to Shlom's Suite. We have to. Shlom's Suite. We can examine places. I feel like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Although, I do yearn for a Japanese kotatsu. Putting your legs under a warm blanket table is so comforting. Do be careful, Mr. Naruto. Don't mistakenly put your feet into the fire, will you? You'd suffer terrible burns, you know. I worry sometimes about how Susato-san sees me. You were a child to her or a pet. Nothing more. My eye is always drawn to this big metal chest that Mr. Shlom's and Iris use as a coffee table. Isn't it where Iris keeps her very important papers? It is, so you'd think they treat it with more care, really. Only the other day I saw Mr. Shlom's kick it. Oh no! Well, something must have been frustrating him. What a shame to mistreat the furniture, though. Was it damaged? The chest was fine, but Mr. Shlom's was doubled up on the floor for almost 10 minutes. Oh dear, that is a painful tale. It is, but it's also funny. Yes, Mr. Shlom's curious collection of trinkets from the various mysteries he solved. It's one of my favorite parts of this room, full of items with such exciting tales to tell. I do believe he's added to since I last looked. Now there's a mystery pence and a mysterious little box, a mysterious horseshoe, and a mysterious biscuit. I think that last one might just be one of Iris's unfinished snacks. I mean, it also could be part of a mystery, Mr. Naruto. Do you not think that? Where's your tale of whimsy? All sorts of these shelves. Chemistry, apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. All heaped up so high, I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to tumble at any moment. It looks as though it might tumble, and yet it doesn't. That epitome of Mr. Shlomo's brilliance. I don't get it. As it happens, I'm quite well practiced when it comes to stacking shelves myself. Just the other day, the shelf in my office finally gave way under the strain, though. It looks as though it might tumble, and it does. Yes, the epitome of your disarray. I really don't get it. You're just a fangirl, fam. Like, there's no way that you could win against that. It ain't happening. This is Mr. Shlomo's famous violin. The one you found being sold for a song at the pawnbrokery. What's it called again? Shoddy something? Oh yes, this wonderful instrument features in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. The world famous Stradivis. What? Stradivis, Mr. Naruto. Stradifor? Are you even trying now? We'll come back to this another time, I think. Dang. I only managed to remember this behemoth's name. A great analytical scope. I don't think it was here when I left for Japan, was it? Oh, is that right? Yes, because it was with the pawnbroker. Ah, of course. Oh, that's giving me a wonderful idea. I could pawn everything that's on your desk. The office would be tidy at last. Don't even joke about it, Mrs. Susato. You are joking, aren't you? I don't think she is, fam. I don't think she would joke about that. She'd be like, nah, all your things gotta go. They gotta go. If I remember correctly, this large, imposing lump of iron is called a typewriter. To think that every single one of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes blossomed from this very machine. Ah, it's such a dreamy thought. I actually had to go on it the other day. The metal bars that move when you hit the keys got all tangled up somehow. That made Iris angry. Mr. Naruto, you're ruining my dreamy thoughts. Please don't do that again. Oh, I made Mrs. Susato mad as well. What else we got? Iris's pretty little tea set is set out beautifully as ever. Well, it's only by carefully taking care of the tea set that you can make a good tea. Is that a roundabout way of telling me I need to tidy my desk? Oh, Mr. Naruto, you do overthink things sometimes. He always thinks it's about himself. Like someone's coming at him every time. To be fair, it's like a 50-50 shot anyway. That's Iris's wonderful collection of medicines, potions, and chemicals. Just look at all the little bottles she squeezed onto the shelves. Yes, and there are charming little ribbons tied around the bottles too. The labels aren't quite so charming, are they? This one reads, deadly poison. Oh, I've been so excited about the idea of helping Iris with her experiments, you know? Just try to avoid any bottles labeled deadly poison or highly explosive. Fair enough. This blackboard is where Iris scribbles down her latest ideas, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, she seems to have drawn a lot of little stick figures all lined up. Look. Cheap apples at the market is all of them say. What? The little figures can speak? All your questions should be answered. If only you would read this month's Ratson magazine. So I'm the only one who can't make any sense of this. Apparently. Alright then, fam. We checked everything that we need to be checking. And that means we could go off looking elsewhere. Next time, y'all, we're gonna be going to the Lord Chief Justice office. And then probably prison. Hopefully not because of that. Suffice to say, it should be an interesting bit. Till then, thank you for watching. Sayonara. Bye-bye.